Why has Ben Affleck made a film about Argos?
Answer me this, answer me this.
Who promoted to Lisa to the female boss?
Answer me this, answer me this. Helen and Ollie, answer me this.
First up this week on Answer Me This, or as they call it in the military, Alpha Mike Tango, we've got some feedback, Helen, from Paul, the pilot from Milton Keynes.
Paul the pilot? Colin the postman, Paul the pilot. It's like kiddie claymation around here now.
He says, I am afraid, Helen, I need to correct you on an inaccuracy.
No!
Yes, when a pilot says that, Helen, you've got to fasten your seatbelts.
Yeah. You adopt the brace position.
R, in the phonetic alphabet, is in fact Romeo, not Roger.
Oh, good point.
Well,
Good
no,
point.
it is now, but it wasn't then.
Hey! Pedant wins.
Yeah, when they invented this alphabet, it was Roger, and then my guess is that because Roger came so commonly to mean received, as discussed in last week's episode, that they had to get a new word to mean R, because otherwise, when people were spelling things out, you'd be like, do you mean received, or do you mean you're halfway through this word?
And it's probably the only scenario where someone's replaced any character called Roger with Romeo.
Well, maybe the Beckhams contemplated calling their second son Roger.
That would be more sensible in a way, wouldn't it?
In fact, all of their children sound like they're called after this alphabet. Apropos of our discussion of Roger, and I speculated about Rogering.
You did, Helen.
You know, as
Yes.
in Rogering.
Yes.
John says, according to my history of science tutor at university, in times past, the boar on a farm was traditionally called Roger. Thus, when the sows were on heat, they were Rogered.
And who would want to dispute the claims of a history of science tutor?
This history of science tutor probably had a master's in pig sex.
Hi, this is Ben. Helen and Ollie, answer me this. My wife and I have been listening to Milkshake by Khalees, and we would like to know what does the milkshake in the song refer to? I thought it was something about tits, but my wife seems to think it's something to do with the girl in question's entire aura or kind of persona thing. There don't seem to be any clues in the song, so if you can help, that'd be great. Thank you.
I think I'd always assumed as well that it was her charisma, her je ne sais quoi.
It wasn't a specific body part, because that'd be nonsensical. Which part of Khalees that is visible through her clothes is liquid?
Well, no, you're right, yeah. So Milkshake, people have speculated. I talk about this like this is a great historical precedent, but actually, the song is unbelievably nearly 10 years old now.
Oh, God.
So this has been going on for a decade.
When was it? 2003?
Yeah.
Shit.
Amazing, isn't it? Anyway, I know, we're old. People have been speculating, because it's got the word milk in it, that it means tits. But if you think about the lyrics, there are clues, actually, contrary to what Ben says there. There are clues in the lyrics that it's not tits, because she says, I could teach you, but I'd have to charge. You can't teach tits. You've either got tits or you haven't. You can't teach someone. You can enlarge their tits.
You can teach plastic surgery.
Exactly, yeah. So you can say, I could enlarge them, but I'd have to charge. That's fine.
Is it a dance, then? Is it her doing something that is shaky? Is it shaking her tits that produce milk? Because she could teach that, couldn't she?
She could teach that.
It's a transferable skill.
She said herself in interviews that it means sex appeal. Her and the Neptunes made it up. It just came out in the recording session. They thought it sounded cool. It is the blend. It is the shake of all the things that make her a sexy lady. It's the tits, it's the arse, it's the dance, it's the charisma, it's everything. So out of what you're saying, Ben, your wife is a little bit closer to the truth. But to what extent is an artistic work what the author intended, and to what extent is the postmodern reading more relevant, Alan?
Death of the author, Ollie.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting point. I've just been reading David Byrne's book, How Music Works, and he's just been saying, I thought the song was about what I thought it was about, but actually the song has three lives, one in the author's mind, one in the audience's mind, and one in the person who's performing its mind.
Oh, critical theory is appalling, isn't it? Isn't it just appalling? But anyway...
Why ruin a pop song with it?
Why not just... I reckon the person who wrote it definitely does know what they meant. But anyway...
And certainly in the video, they did have gushing milkshake looking suggestive, but that didn't seem tit-based.
Well, now you come on to the point.
Oh, do I?
Yes.
That's what I come on to, is it?
The major alternative reading of Milkshake is actually blowjob. Blowjob, because milkshake, as in shaking a big cock full of cum.
It's more like pulling a pint, though, isn't it?
Well,
and that's foamy.
My bitter brings all the boys to the yard doesn't have the same ring to it.
I think to have that reading, then you are then in your mind creating a situation where Khalees is giving a massive outdoor blowjob session.
Yeah, and people are queuing up.
Yeah,
I don't think she's like that.
No, I don't think she's like that either. But if that were the case, which I don't think it is, but if it were, at least it's an inventive sexual euphemism better than Candy Shop by 50 Cent.
Oh, that's
which
horrible.
I think is the nadir of the blowjob-related song.
What's his metaphor for the oral sex act upon the mouth?
My cock is built like a lollipop. That's it. For 3 minutes. Yeah,
I'll let you lick my lollipop. What's that other one as well? Flow Rider. Where, well, he's got several, hasn't he? Because there's Elevator, because she's going down in the elevator.
Yeah, that's right.
To waist
Blow
level.
my whistle. You can blow my whistle.
It's all a bit carry-on, isn't it?
Well, whereas, yeah, but Candy Shop isn't. Candy Shop's really nasty. Because Candy Shop does suggest children, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's not only a horrible sounding song, and the only sort of remotely clever comparison he's making is between a lollipop and his penis. It's also then quite peasy.
Yeah,
because
it's like all that chocolate factory stuff that R. Kelly did, isn't it?
Or that current Werther's Original advert, which is the worst advert for many reasons. One is because the woman narrating it says, "When my grandfather first took me to my favourite caramel shop, I was 5. I think, firstly, caramel shops. Secondly, enough caramel shops that you can rank them. And thirdly, you're discerning enough at 5 to rank them and have a favourite.
Well, I don't know, though. I went to the Lake District for a couple of days in May, and actually, when it's raining, there's not much to do but rank the caramel shops. So it depends where they were on holiday, Helen.
Yeah. If there are 2, that can keep you occupied all day.
If Milkshake was going to bring you to a yard, and why would you buy Milkshake from a yard? You'd buy it from a milkshake shop.
Could be a pop-up.
Boo.
Well, she was predicting Shoreditch in this song.
And those luxury milkshake vans that go to festivals where you can get biscuits ground up in a milkshake, which is stupid.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the disused primary school car park. If a milkshake was to bring you to a yard, Helen, what flavour milkshake would it be?
Oh.
And why?
I don't super like milkshakes, but I think it'd probably be something like mocha.
That's a very good choice because it's straightforward but also complex.
Yeah, and not too sweet.
Because I'm flummoxed by the choices. You know, in these,
Too many.
you know when you go to like Shakeaway and these new chains they have now where you can choose any, and they've got candy bars from America as well as the British chocolate bars. The problem is because you're given the luxury of options, you think, oh well, for an extra 50p, I can also have a drifter in there, and I can also have a shot of brandy or whatever the hell it is.
Oh, tyranny of choice.
I ruin it. I wish, in a way, I lived in a society that had more rules that said, no, you can just have this combination of stuff because we know what's good for you.
Why don't you just go and move to China? They tell you what kind of milkshake you've got to have.
It's the famous thing, isn't it? People always say about China.
Actually, that's a terrible analogy, that's true, because they don't really drink milk in China.
Well, doesn't sound like China's for you, Ollie.
My favourite milkshake is strawberry, thanks for asking.
Oh, yeah. That's a bad choice.
Why?
Because, well, I don't like strawberries in real life anyway. They're my least favourite summer fruit.
Really? God,
Why
I never
have
knew.
strawberries when you can have raspberries? Why do it?
Because it's slightly different time of the year. Strawberries slightly earlier.
All right, that's a sensible answer, but still.
Thanks.
Strawberry ice cream bears then very little relation to the strawberry itself.
Well, it's pink.
Yeah, exactly, but it's an artificial flavour you're tasting. It's not like when you have mango ice cream, you know that's got something to do with mango.
You know who likes strawberry milkshake,
I
though?
don't, Helen. Tell me who.
You do. It's the members of our Facebook group, because I put up a picture of Martin drinking a strawberry milkshake on there last week, and I went crazy for it. Just a man and a milkshake, for heaven's sake.
Oh, yeah.
I had a really cute face on
You
there.
were looking a bit coquettish.
I look really endearing.
If I do say so myself. My milkshake brought all the boys to our Facebook page.
And then the picture of Ollie wearing a dildo on his head drove all the boys away again.
If you got a question, email your question to answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. To answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. To answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. To answer me this podcast at googlemail.com.
So, retrospectors, what historical events are we ticking off on this week's run of Today in History?
On Monday, the anniversary of the day Ozzy Osbourne and a bat came face to face on stage.
On Tuesday, we go back to the future with a potted history of the DeLorean.
On Wednesday, why is the Pope guarded by those guys in floofy hats?
On Thursday, how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ended up in Cleveland.
And on Friday, was Henry VIII really an asshole, or was it just the result of a jousting accident?
We discuss this and more on Today in History with the Retrospectors. 10 minutes each weekday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Here's a question from Micah.
I could be beat, I could be boo, I could be fine.
I think he just killed a dog.
What was that?
It was a song by Micah.
Right, yeah, got you, okay.
I could be like Chris Kelly, ooh, but it do so sad. Why? So I tried a little Freddy. Then he turned in his grave. Different Micah though, different
Right.
Micah.
Oh, okay.
He says, I've decided to become a collector of old things. sugar daddies, etc. The best way to get a good deal on old things is to purchase them at an estate sale when someone's family sells off their dead grandmother's belongings for cheap. For better or worse, I'm at an age where many of my friends' parents and grandparents are starting to pass away.
I think that's for worse, Micah, by most people's standards.
So, Ollie, answer me this. How long should I wait after their parents have died to ask these friends when they plan on selling their deceased relatives' antique gold chicken figurines for $1?
Wow.
Oh, poor you. But, since you're going to have to clear the house anyway, let me help you.
Oh, yeah, just do it in one sweeping motion. Put your arms around their shoulder, and then whilst you're comforting them in their grief and bereavement, just pick the figurines off the shelf and put them in your pocket.
Yeah, you know what wakes are great for? Pricing up things.
I think that's the thing. Don't go to the shiver and eye up the oak bedstead, but... do be there at the wake, do be there at the funeral, be in touch with your friends, because that's a good thing to do anyway. The fact that there's an ulterior motive doesn't matter. You're still doing good. Be in touch, and then naturally you will be there for them at the moment when they start talking about, oh, it's really depressing, I'm clearing out Granny's old house. You're like, right, now's the moment, go for it.
I think
I'll help.
Yeah, exactly, because I think if you're waiting around it could take too long, but I think you could offer your services saying... I know it's really hard to dissolve the estate of a loved one. So if you need any help distributing the stuff, I could step in.
And that's good, Helen. I believe you.
And then casually...
believe that it's just for their benefit.
Wow, I love this thing. I could give some money to your family for the estate or to the charity of your choice.
Yeah.
So seem like you're doing them a favour.
Like candy from a baby, isn't it?
I'm very manipulative. Yes. I'm learning this about myself.
Well, it's easy, though, with bereaved people, isn't it? Religion's been exploiting bereaved people for centuries.
Yeah,
you just need to step in when they're feeling weak.
I got accosted by a lady when I was walking from Crystal Palace to Streatham the other week.
And she said... when you die, can you leave me this jacket?
She said, are you interested in a house clearance sale? And I said, I'm sorry, not really. And she said, because my mother's just died and she lives up there. My house is over there and it's full of stuff. And I go, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, but no. And she said, her landing and the living room and the bedroom are full of things. It's not furniture. It's things like her clothes, her shoes. A lot of it's hardly worn. Are you interested? And I said, no, I'm really sorry. I'm not interested. And then she was like, well, can you give me any ideas as to how to get people to come, because I want people to make appointments, don't want them just to come in. I thought, well, just hanging around in this park waiting for people that you can nab on the pathway is not a good way to reach a lot of people. So I said to her, what about
Facebook?
Yeah, what about the internet?
Yeah.
What about, the local forums? And she said,
oh no, there's loads of weirdos there.
She said, I don't do computers.
I prefer to accost people in public.
So essentially I just had to run away from her, because I thought if I did go and look at the shoes, then she would make me dress up as her mother and she would keep me and make me stay in bed, and she would bring me bread soaked in broth. You'd
just be Mrs. Bates's motel but in Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
This is from Jess in Dorset, who says, I heard the phrase piggyback for the first time in a while today. Answer me this. Where does that phrase come from? To piggyback.
There are a number of explanations. Obviously, most of them are wrong, but I'll let you pick. So one of them is that pigs love to frolic and jump on each other's backs. That's probably false, though, because pigs are not notoriously load-bearing animals.
Yeah, but when they go rutting, they do jump on each other's backs, sort of, don't they?
Yeah, but then so do a lot of animals, don't they?
Well, to be fair, dogs aren't the only ones who go doggy style. But, sometimes an animal takes the glory for themselves of a particular position.
And crocodile's not the only ones doing it crocodile style, am I right?
What's crocodile style?
Oh, Martin doesn't know.
You have to do it in a swamp, Martin.
Is that where the man eats the woman?
But the real explanation is kind of boring, really. It's folk etymology, which is the polite term for when people have just misheard something, for pickaback, which came from pick-pack. And pick was an Old English term for... placing things. Same origin as well as pitching, as in pitching a tent.
Right.
And so you placed the pack on your back and carried it around.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not a pack, is it? It's usually a child. That's what makes it fun.
Now it is, unless you're piggybacking on someone else's wireless network.
Right, yeah, I see. The fun of the piggyback is just like the most... I still look back with joy and pleasure on my childhood piggybacks.
Would you love to be given a piggyback now?
Yes, but I'd now feel guilty, like I would never go on a donkey now because I'd know it would die. I would feel guilty that I'd give that person osteoporosis or some sort of injury.
I'd do it, but I think I'd be worried that I'd fuck your back up quite a lot as well.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you know, with back problems, you don't want to get involved in piggyback either giving or receiving, ideally.
No.
Which is a shame because it's ruined a great pleasure for me. I mean, really one of my abiding childhood memories of the 80s.
Sorry.
Being on Grandpa's shoulders, he used to do this game where we'd be going out to the shops or something, and just as he was leaving the hall at home and like locking all the doors and stuff, he'd say, "Where's Oliver? Where's Oliver?" And look around and I was on his shoulders like crying, laughing. And then he'd like stand in front. There was a whole routine because obviously with kids you do the same joke every fucking time.
Repetition is funny, right?
There's a routine where at the end we went to the mirror right by the door and he's like, "Where is he? Where is he?" And I'd be pointing at the mirror screaming with joy. And then he'd see me in the mirror.
Cute.
Yeah.
I have an idea for you. Maybe this is the answer to your piggyback problems. Maybe you could get a special customised Segway so it looked like a human adult. You could just hop on the back and drive around without worrying that you were going to break the spine of that Segway because it's a Segway.
I see what you're trying to do, Helen, but...
I'm trying to bring back that joy to your life,
no.
because God knows you need it.
If anything, that would just underline the fact...
It's not human. The granddad
I'm
is
just
gone.
alone with my technology. No.
You've made that choice in your life.
I'll tell you the other thing I used to like as well. Did you do this with your parents? Holding hand one of the other and then skipping in between and swinging between the two arms?
I don't remember holding my dad's hand or him and my mum walking me to a place. Because
Really?
if one of them was walking me there, it meant the other one could do something else.
The other great joke of my childhood was being with my dad at SeaWorld. And he put out his hand like he used to just as a sort of reflex motion when I was sort of 7 years old. And a little Japanese tourist took hold of it. I was like, walked along holding like a middle-aged man's hand for about probably 10 seconds.
I think that is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
It was wonderful.
Yo, one love. The best thing about tennis is a women's tennis. Hearing those ladies all going, makes me go in my pants.
Answer Me This Sports Day, out now at answermethispodcast.com/albums.
I think it's time to have a question from our phone line.
I agree.
And if listeners, you think, oh, that sounds like an interesting proposition, maybe I'd like to leave a question on the phone line. This is the number you would need to dial.
02081235877.
Or you could Skype Answer Me This if you're a cheapskate. And let's see who's been in touch today.
It's Eddie from Colchester. I was asked me this. Are the people at the back of Watchdog actually researchers or are they just actors?
Is Watchdog still on?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen it. Is it Anne Robinson or am I mixing it up with something else?
Used to be, but it's Alice Beer, isn't it?
It was once presented by Anne Robinson, then it wasn't. And I think now again it is. I think they brought her back about 2 years ago.
They say you present Watchdog twice in your career.
My cat did the Anne Robinson wink the other day.
Really?
Yeah, she was sitting on the sofa and she gave me a proper goodbye.
Yeah, and your cat had just had all that Botox as well. So, without having seen Watchdog, I'm going to imagine it's got Anne Robinson in the front, like a terrifying, like one of those Stalin statues or something. And then to make it look all official while she's going, this happened and it was terrible. In the background, you've got people looking like they're doing computer stuff and answering phones because right now, so many consumer complaints are coming through. They need a team on it, even though the cameras are on.
Although of course that is actually true because of course suddenly when 3 million people find out that they could get £100 back from British Telecom or whatever, they are going to all call the BBC. Right. So I think there genuinely are calls coming through. Okay. But yeah, it's similar aesthetic to a charity telethon or Crime Watch where you see the production staff, they're on the set, they're lit, they're wearing makeup, they've got headsets on, but they are actually sitting at desks working. So the answer to Eddie's question is yes. They are real researchers, but not only are they real researchers, that is their office. I've walked through the Watchdog set when Watchdog is not being filmed, and they do sit on the set. That's their desk. That's where they work.
Makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
And also, it would make no economic sense to hire actors because those researchers are being paid anyway to work on the show, whereas actors, you'd have to pay them a fee. Martin has played a similar sort of peripheral role in a TV show.
Oh yeah, my claim to fame.
It's not really your claim to fame.
Oh, I know about this. Is this when you went on 60 Minute Makeover and put wallpaper?
I was a wall painter.
Yeah.
In 60 Minutes. I sanded a radiator and I carried some things on and I painted a wall.
Also, the bit before the break when they have the extremely easy multiple choice questions so you can win something, they do that overlaid a shot of one of the people doing something and it was Martin with a roller.
Wow.
Yep.
That's something for before they were famous, isn't it? Before they were physicists.
Here is another question about, I suppose, illusions of showbiz.
Right.
It's from Harry, who says, in the new Twix advert, or it shows two sides of the Twix, i.e. the two Twix fingers, being made in different factories. And yet, the mini snack-sized Twixes only have one finger. So, Ollie, answer me this. What side does the mini Twix come from?
Okay, so you're accepting the advertisement on its own terms, aren't you? You're accepting as fact its portrayal. It's obviously comedy Willy Wonka-inspired portrayal of two rival factories producing sticks of Twix.
If you were a chocolate bar manufacturer, why would you duplicate your own factory to make a single object? It makes no sense at all.
Exactly, and Twix is owned by Mars, so for all we know, it's made in the same factory as Whiskers. In reality, but
what are you saying about the caramel? Bits of old tuna.
So they're not going to portray that in the commercial, are they? It's a fun, engaging way to bring their product to life, but in reality, both Twix fingers are made in the same factory, and therefore the mini Twix one as well.
But they must have different machines for the mini Twix that make it mini, right? So they've got like a tiny saucepan that makes the caramel. Oh, say it is so, Ollie.
Well, the thing is, though, I actually do think where Mars have failed on the whole mini Twix issue is that if you were to ask a focus group what makes a Twix,
double fingers!
The very doubleness of it.
Yes.
That is core to the Twix brand.
Well, they know this because their website is an exercise in duality that is almost literary. It's like a novel that I read quite recently. It was called The City and the City by China Mieville,
right,
which is about two cities that are alongside each other and you're really forbidden from passing between each one, but they're essentially the same. It's a kind of satire of that. One side is the left Twix.
The left Twix, yeah.
One is the right Twix.
Yeah.
They're imparting the same information, but with slightly different wording.
Yes, and it's clever, in as far as these things ever are.
It's a bit painful to read.
Nonetheless, I think what we're seeing here is through their website and through the very name of the product, the etymology of which is twin sticks.
Is it?
Yeah.
Very good.
Twix has always been about two things. Yep. They've acknowledged that by coming up with this whole device of left and right, and therefore Hari has put his finger on something here.
His Twixy fingers.
They shouldn't really be manufacturing a mini Twix at all, if that's their strategy.
The campaign starts here. Down with the mini Twix.
Yeah, because actually, as far as chocolate campaigns ever do exist, it's usually to bring back much loved but no longer produced brands, isn't it?
Yeah, like the salad cream flavoured Kit Kat.
That kind of thing. But it's about time that we say, no, just stop. Just stop the relentless expansion, Mars. Twix is about double bars. If you're going to make a mini one, make fun-sized mini bars. But don't make one bar. And don't make the ice cream that's one bar either, because that's also not on brand.
Unbelievable.
It's a rare example, Twix, actually, of a product that is owned by a global conglomerate, owned in America effectively, always was. But they launched it here first. It was in the UK before it was in the US and before it was anywhere else.
Like Adele.
Yes, yeah. Twix is the Adele of chocolate bars.
I am Almighty Zeus. In the age of myths and heroes, I would hurl thunderbolts down upon mortals, and I had many followers. Now, I have no followers, but I follow Helen and Ollie at twitter.com/Helen and Ollie with a Y. Why?
It's dilemma time, and we've had this one from an anonymous man who says...
Dilemma time. Do. It's disgusting. Do.
Don't be too jolly, Helen, because it is disgusting.
Morals.
He says, I have a huge moral dilemma.
All right, no need to show off.
Yeah. I'm currently divorcing my bitch-faced wife of 19 years.
Oh, that's a strong statement.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's quite aggressive.
Immediately I'm now on the side of his wife, even though I don't know anything about the man.
Yeah, bitch-faced is not a nice...
It's harsh, isn't it? You think, well, okay, you may be having acrimonious split. We don't know. She might have cheated on you.
Maybe she has got a horrible face, but maybe she's a lovely person behind it.
But you don't write to people you don't know and say, my wife's a bitch-face, do you?
My bitch-faced wife is like the natural continuation of my so-called life 20 years later.
I'm currently divorcing my bitch-faced wife of 19 years and have started seeing someone who is not only 23 years my junior...
So cliche.
...but also my cousin. That's coming up on the Jerry Springer Show.
Wow, okay.
23 years my junior and also my cousin.
Gross.
The fact that I am 44 and she is 21 does not really bother me.
That's because you're on the rebound.
Yeah, and because you're shagging a 21-year-old. If it was the other way round, it would bother you, wouldn't it? It would bother you that she was 65, I reckon. It's the niggling thought that she is my uncle's daughter.
And that when she was born, I was 23.
That's nasty, isn't it?
Yes.
I think the person I'm screwing now, when I was their age, they weren't born.
Yeah. It's like, if I even think that I'll ever date anyone who is currently 9,
Yeah.
That's an upsetting thought.
I think you're slightly refocusing this question here. The age thing...
We haven't even got to it yet.
...can be got over. It's the incest aspect that slightly worries me.
Well, yes. Well, you're hitting upon the question that is about to come, Martin, because he says, in the eyes of the law, this is...
And God.
...perfectly acceptable.
Oh,
no, God's not keen.
No, he's not keen.
But the law's all right with it.
It's the most perfectly acceptable relationship, isn't it?
But, Helen, answer me this. Is it a relationship I should pursue? For your information, and this is where the plot thickens even more, Helen.
As if it needed to be thicker.
I have 3 kids, aged 12, 16, and 18.
And my uncle says that he wants to date the middle one.
Exactly. I cannot see how this can go wrong. I've got an 18-year-old child, 4 years younger than my cousin who I'm having sex with.
Gross.
And she, my cousin, has a 20-month-old baby boy from a bloke she is no longer involved with. So there's other children involved too.
Let me anticipate the question. Helen, answer me this. What is my cousin's son's relation to me? Is he twice removed? How does it work?
So Helen, answer me this. Do I continue with this insane incestuous relationship with the view of one day moving in together, or do I let her down gently now before anyone gets hurt?
You missed a word off the sentence there. More. Because people are already going to be hurt. Even if you remove the gross-making family element. The fact is, this sounds like you're in a rebound relationship. And I don't think you should date your cousin, generally, but especially not if it's the kind of relationship where, you know, you're getting over your bitch-faced wife and then you move on. I think maybe you need to recover on your own. Not in a relationship at all, especially when there are children involved, especially when the children are a similar age to your cousin girlfriend. So I think you need to nip it in the bud, because otherwise, if it ends acrimoniously, family gatherings are going to be very, very awkward forever.
Well, I think but that's going to happen now anyway, at the point at which...
You've had sex with your cousin.
Exactly. Because you're going to see each other at every family wedding, funeral, whatever.
Well...
That's happening now anyway.
The weddings are all within the family, aren't they? Who else are you going to invite? And I think you've got to think of your kids. This is such a headfuck for them. I think it'd be bad enough if it was a 21-year-old that had no relation to you, but the fact it is one of your relations, and it is your children's cousin as well, that is just too much.
And that they're so close in age.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I don't think you should be so didactic, Helen, as to say what he definitely should do is end this, because the point is he is in this relationship now.
Right,
in that sense,
he should have as much sex as he can get out of it, then end it.
The option of never having done it in the first place is no longer on the table. It's happened. It could be argued, could it not, that the real damage of this would be the sensation, would be the shock of it happening.
Yeah, but
and that now it's happened, actually, if they are in love...
there's no mention of love.
Really, the only serious objection to marrying your cousin should be about having children with them, which I presume he's not interested in, and she's already got a baby.
Why would you presume that? We have nothing to go on.
I suppose what I'm saying is, don't have children with her, and then I think it's slightly less disturbing than it was anyway, if your kids already know about it.
I think not only do you have the unsavouriness of sex with a family member, but you do have this big social problem that you're creating, and I think after a while the sex will wear off if it turns into a longer term relationship, but the awkwardness will remain forever. So I think just take the easier way out and finish now.
Also, I don't know, anonymous man, if any of your grandparents are alive.
Right, so the person who is the progenitor of you
everyone
and your
in
uncle
your new family
and
unit.
your girlfriend.
Yeah. But I wonder whether they'd like it or dislike it.
They would dislike it.
Coming over at Christmas and knowing that they were related to everyone in the room. I mean, no, but seriously, in a way it makes present buying easier, doesn't it? Because everyone's buying for the same grandparents.
Yeah, so actually it is very practical, yes, great. Well, with a bitter taste in our mouths, we must come to the end of this episode of Answer Me This. But if you supply us with questions, there will be another one next week. So please email, phone or Skype them to us, and all of those contact details are on our website,
AnswerMeThisPodcast.com, whereupon you can also find links to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, buy our classic episodes and albums and apps. Oh my.
And you know what's on Martin the Soundman's website at the moment?
Oh, it's you can pre-order my new album, The City.
Pre-ordering, that's the most exciting bit. The anticipation, isn't it?
It's out November 23rd, so pre-order it now.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.